Um, we are live streaming on all our platforms today. Uh, Happy to be here. Antoine Thompson, Greater Washington Region Clean Cities Coalition. So excited. And our office, every day is Earth Day, but nationally today, everyone is out, hopefully doing some great work. We kicked off, our office kicked off this weekend with a nice cleanup. And Marlboro Pike and Maryland and Prince George's County. So we're really excited out there. In fact, I still got some dirt in my finger. I'm just trying to get out. I did shower, but I've been trying to get this little thing of dirt out of my finger the last 2 days. So I don't know if that's a sign I don't do enough cleanups, but I had on gloves, took them off, grabbed something, and anyhow, I'm still trying to get the dirt. So I have a proof that I was out there cleaning up, not just doing a photo op. But also tonight, we will host a clean green drinks happy hour and Earth Day celebration tonight, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's going to take place up at Meetup PG in Lanham, Maryland, 4400 Forbes Boulevard. We'll have some nice electric cars out there with our local electric driver association and Toyota and a few others. And folks will have their cars on display, so it'll be nice as well. So we're really excited about that. Tomorrow we'll have a forum tomorrow on accelerating access to EV charging and bio diesel at local fueling stations. You know, there are hundreds of those around the region. So we'll have that tomorrow from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And that will be on Zoom as well. So we're trying to get more of these fueling stations to offer low carbon fuels to obviously zero carbon with EV charging. Because not everyone is going to be able to charge at home. Especially in our region, over half the people live in multifamily apartment buildings or condos, and so as we see this continued growth in low carbon and zero emission fuels, zero carbon fuels, that we need to make sure people have easy access to charging. Really important. The other thing is tomorrow we're going to have a nice clean fuel vehicle showcase. It's going to be right outside the Nats game, the Washington National Stadium on M Street. I think it's 151 M Street. So we'll be out there with all different type of vehicles, everything from electric to biodiesel to hydrogen vehicles, right out there on display from 4:30 p.m. to 6:45 p.m. So we'll have them right on display. So come check them out right before the baseball game. And then, of course, we're going to go to the game right after and have a good time as well. So nice vehicle showcase. It's free. No one's trying to sell anything. This is just trying to educate you on clean vehicles. And hopefully my sister office in Philadelphia, someone donated them an electric vehicle for the next 3 years. So we are all for you all donating a vehicle to our office as well. So look forward to that. Also, another big thing on Thursday, we're going to have, we do a lot of programs, but we're going to talk about all of our electric vehicle initiatives, not all of them, but many of them, on Thursday, 11 a.m. to 12 o'clock. So you can hear about all the great initiatives, or many of the initiatives that we're currently doing, and some of the ones that we'll be rolling out over the next month or so as they come on board with some of the programs we've gotten funded for. So look forward to those events, a lot of great events. So tonight, what time? 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., 4400 Forbes Boulevard, Earth Day celebration. So come on out. It's going to be exciting. Well, we have an amazing panel that we're going to share with you today. I often say that I got my start in environmental issues in college. And people are always amazed by this. But in college, we were struggling on campus trying to get recycling on campus. Believe it or not, that was a challenge. Some of you who've been around the environmental movement, when I got out of college, we were trying to get this thing called curbside recycling. And Jeff, you know about that. I'm sure, Janet, you know about that as well. That wasn't always easy. You know, municipalities fought it. They didn't think it was profitable. Activists and organizers pushed and pushed, and that was the norm, but it wasn't always the norm. Then I got involved with this thing called the Bigger, Better Bottle Bill in New York, and toxic fund sites and super fund sites. And now we're really, our office, 30 years in this industry, we focus on transportation. So we're going to have a nice conversation today for some really smart people that are going to talk about everything that deal with the environment, from vehicles to farms to buildings, you name it. All these things that not only deal with climate, but the impact on public health. Because ultimately, it's about saving lives and making sure that people can live longer. I want you to think about this before I introduce our speakers. Asthma is one of the top reasons why kids miss school in the United States. And it's also one of the top reasons why people miss work, right? And that's a direct result of bad transportation policies and also buildings. If you live in wards 5, 7, 8 in DC, or you live inside of the Beltway in Prince George's County, you have a shorter lifespan based on the air quality, the transportation, and other societal and environmental impacts. 10 years less life. And the environment and transportation plays a significant role in that. And so we have an opportunity to change those things by our transportation policies, our building policies, and all those things that disproportionately impact disadvantaged and low-income communities. So Earth Day is every day. It's the policies that we implement. It's the way we live our lives. It's the way we construct our buildings. And we've got to make sure that no one is left behind in this massive investment in clean energy and clean transportation. So without further ado, I want to introduce some of the folks that we have today. You can Google, all of these individuals are Googleable, but I'm going to read them so we get right into our panel. Janet Gingo, she's Sierra Club Outings Leader Chair. Prince George's County Sierra Club Executive Committee and immediate past chair of the Prince George's County Sierra Club. Dr. Venus Welch White, Acting Deputy Director of the Office of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, who we do a couple projects with around Diesel Emission Reduction Act with them and the Clean Fuels Alliance America. Looking forward to hearing some of her great work on biofuels and other good things. Then we have Jeff King, a legend, a living legend, Director of Climate, Energy and Air Programs, Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments, COG. He's been on our board for a number of years, doing a lot of amazing work. You'll hear some of the good work he's doing and COG is doing. Aaron Rice, Director of Workplace Strategy at EXP Commercial, also head of another company that does with air monitors. And I told Aaron, you got to make sure I get an air monitor by Friday, because any room that he goes in, he has these air monitors. He can tell you if you're in a room with clean air or bad air. So he'll talk about that. Also, a dynamic individual, Nicole Kirby, Regional Manager, Clean Cities, Mid-Atlantic Region, U.S. Department of Energy. Let's give all of these wonderful, dynamic, really smart people a virtual hand clap. All right. And we're going to get this started. So I want to start with Venus Welch White. She's the Acting Deputy Director of the Office of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, U.S. Department, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. And we will, I think we're going to go with Venus first. And then we'll go to Janet.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. So first of all, happy Earth Day to everybody. I think you stole my thunder a little bit, Antoine. I say every day at EPA is Earth Day. So you stole a little bit of my thunder. So first of all, thank you all so much. Really appreciate you welcoming and inviting me to the panel. Look forward to, again, talking to my other panelists and looking forward to kicking off this Earth Day celebration. I think, as most people know, and hopefully for those that do know versus those that do not know, EPA is committed to to people on the planet. Our primary mission and the reason that we're here every day is to protect human health and the environment. And so that is really important. So every day, again, I'll mention is Earth Day here at EPA. I will just make mention of our new, let's back up. I would be remiss if I did not mention that our current administration, President Biden,
hey, yo, what is good, everyone? Okay, so do this Kahoot that I'm sharing right now because it's
that's
cool,
not me.
And I put the link in the chat. It's the Kahoot for the class that I'm in right now, so everyone do it. So, because yeah, it's kind of a loud. Hey, why did you stop my video? So do the Kahoot.
Can someone please take control and remove that person?
It's done.
Okay.
Thank you. Can we put everyone on mute so no one can do that except for the speakers, please? Thank you. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I've not seen that happen in 4 years.
We have to have something exciting happening for Earth Day. It's all as well. So again, just wanted to make mention that President Biden rejoined the climate accord on his very first day in office and has been committed to implementing his vision of tackling climate change. And that has been through a variety of actions and goals. And again, this is with an urgency that science demands and building essentially clean energy economy that's beneficial for all Americans, including those in rural America. As a part of this vision, the administration has definitely set many goals, very ambitious goals, I might add. One is reducing greenhouse gas emissions between 50 and 52%, which are actually below these 2005 levels by 2030, reaching 100% pollution-free electricity by 2035, achieving a net zero emissions economy by 2050, as well as delivering benefits from federal investments in climate and clean energy to disadvantaged communities. So this is really important. I also want to just make mention that there was a historic passing of the Inflation Reduction Act, which is the most significant legislation in U.S. history to address some of the issues that we're dealing with as it relates to climate. I also bring greetings from Administrator Michael Regan, who is the administrator of EPA. And on March the 1st, he announced the establishment of a new Office of Agriculture and Rural Affairs. And as Antoine mentioned, I serve as the acting deputy director for that office. Our office primarily serves to be a liaison between rural and agricultural stakeholders at EPA. We work internally with our sister agencies and program areas, including but not limited to Office of Water, Office of Land and Emergency Management, as well as Office of Air and Radiation. So a lot of our IRA funding actually is coming from the Office of Air and Radiation. And they're also the ones that administer all of our renewable fuels standard and all our biofuels policy. So we work very closely with them. I will also mention that we have a federal advisory committee. We are one of 22 federal advisory committees at EPA. Which is the Farm, Ranch, and Rural Communities Federal Advisory Committee. This committee was established in 2007 and provides independent policy advice, information, and recommendations to the administrator on a host of environmental issues and policies that are important to both the agricultural and rural communities. And the current charge topic that the current FRRCC has is actually the nexus of climate change and agriculture. So this is really important. The committee provides recommendations. The last set of recommendations actually came out last month. They were submitted to the administrator earlier in the year, and he responded on National Ag Day on March the 19th. So I encourage people that might be interested to go and read some of the recommendations specifically around things that intersect with climate to celebrate Earth Day. I will also just make mention that, low carbon biofuels are definitely part of the broader climate strategy. In addition to, there's a lot of IRA funding, but one of the things that it established was a clean fuels tax credit as well as a sustainable aviation fuels tax credit. This supports a variety of feedstocks, including those that are agricultural feedstocks, as well as renewable feedstocks. And those can support not only rural communities, so even though we're talking about primarily places that are here in the local Washington, D.C. area, these these policies and these investments definitely are far-reaching, and so they impact agricultural communities as well as rural communities. So I want to just mention that that's a really important part of this broader climate strategy and really supporting not only public health but the environment. So hats off to people and planet. So I will yield my time and look forward to the panel discussion. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad that you could join us. And I want to go next to Janet Gingo, and we can get to our questions right after our last speaker. So we can hold our questions to we get after Nicole. Thanks.
Hi, it's great to be here with a whole bunch of other people who think every day is Earth Day, because that's what it's all about. I'm Janet Gingold, and I'm a volunteer member of the executive committee of the Prince George's County group of the Sierra Club. I came to this work after retiring from a career in healthcare and education. So I totally get what Antoine was talking about the role of asthma, keeping people out of school and work. It is so important that we address these air quality issues. I'm going to say a few things about the Sierra Club's vision and goals, and then I'm going to tell you a few things about what we're doing locally in hopes of accelerating necessary change. Sierra Club is the most enduring and influential grassroots environmental organization in the United States. What started as an effort to bring attention to the importance of California's wilderness has evolved into a national movement for sustainability and justice. We amplify the power of our millions of members and supporters to defend everyone's right to a healthy world. Sierra Club envisions a just, equitable, and sustainable future where all people benefit from a healthy, thriving planet and a direct connection to nature. Healthy people need a healthy planet. And we have no time to waste. We must act now on an unprecedented scale to change the current trajectory of human impacts on our biosphere. We will only be successful by building a movement that works together. We know that environmental issues can't be separated from social justice because we're all in this together. We work with other partner organizations, nonprofits, and campaigns to build a diverse, inclusive movement that truly represents today's American public. So what's the biggest priority? Addressing the biggest threat to people and the planet, and that's climate change. We urgently need to address the climate crisis in a way that protects the environment and is also fair, equitable, and enduring. So how do we do that? Well, it starts with transitioning to clean energy and also maximizing energy efficiency across all sectors, including transportation, urban design, and land use. Reducing other sources of greenhouse gases, especially methane. And protecting and rebuilding the capacity of forests and other lands to absorb excess carbon dioxide and provide more robust climate resilience through supporting biodiversity and natural system functions. One of our big campaigns is the Clean Transportation for All campaign, which advocates for reducing harmful impacts of transportation on the environment and on public health while expanding equitable transportation options. Sierra Club also works to reduce our car dependence by advocating for reliable public transit, safe infrastructure for walking and biking, and more housing choices near where people work, learn, and play. In Prince George's County, our local group leads monthly outings to nurture connections to nature. But a few tree huggers walking around in wild places can't accomplish the change that we need. To grow the movement, we've been working to engage the general public to get decision makers at every level to consider climate impacts as they make choices. We advocate for our county council to implement our county's climate action plan and for local land use decisions that will limit sprawl and reduce our dependence on cars through transit-oriented development. We recently hosted a series of community events to get people together to talk about environmental justice aspects of energy, transportation, tree canopy coverage, and stormwater management. And to reach young people and their families, we've partnered with the public school system to sponsor an Eco Action art contest. This year, it was great to see so many thoughtful interpretations of our theme, which was My Footprint Matters, Every Choice Affects Climate Change. We also participate in community events to meet people where they are and share helpful information. because every little bit helps, and it takes all of us doing the best we can with what we've got. So that's where the Sierra Club's coming from, and I'm looking forward to hearing what other people have to say and answering any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Janet. And I want to just thank Janet for her leadership. As you can see that nice photo of us out doing community forums, and that one was in District Heights, Maryland, and an area that needs a lot of assistance. They're trying to get more resources, especially in this environmental justice space. So thank you for your leadership and making sure that areas that normally don't have these conversations have a chance to do that. And at Greater Washington, we really are focused on making sure we have more of those conversations and actions in communities that, like as I mentioned, really don't have that conversation on a regular basis. Next, we're going to go to Jeff King, Director of Climate, Energy, and Air Programs at Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments. Jeff, welcome back from vacation. You know,
Thanks,
good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be back. So good afternoon, everyone. Jeff King with the Council of Governments, otherwise known as COG. I'll be putting some links in the chat. So for those of you who don't know, COG is a association of the 24 local governments in the metropolitan Washington region, so home to 6 million folks, been around as an agency for more than 50 years. And COGs are really, every major metropolitan area in the country actually has a COG or a metropolitan planning organization due to the federal highway law that requires that metropolitan areas have MPOs, and we serve then as a great place to convene leaders, either elected or staff or public leaders, to engage on all sorts of different issues. So if you can think of any governmental function out there, we pretty much have some sort of meeting on it. And in my case, the meetings, the committees on climate and energy and air quality, actually was hired here to be the technical lead staff for the air quality challenge our region faced back in 2004, 5, 6 with ozone and fine particles. So been working on air quality now for just about 20 years. Was the lead staff back in 2008 when the COG Board of Directors adopted our climate program and launched that initiative in founding our Climate, Energy, Environment Policy Committee, which was one of the largest committees here at COG. At the time, we established the program around the concept of 80% reduction in emissions by 2050. And we had a 20% reduction by 2020, which we actually met. As part of our plan, we are interested in pretty much all things climate energy. So energy efficiency, of course, the built environment, clean power, clean fuels, clean vehicles. We try to support our members across the region on developing and implementing policies and programs and projects around all of these different areas. The COG board sets goals for us to try to achieve certain things. For instance, we recently had the COG adopt a goal of 50% tree canopy in the region, maintaining that level, kind of a no net loss concept. We have a goal of 250,000 solar rooftops by 2030. So those types of priorities and initiatives here at COG, we work to support. As it relates to clean fuels and vehicles, I've been doing a lot of work with EPA over the years under the Diesel Emission Reduction Act program, currently repowering old dirty diesel locomotives at Union Station. But we've also supported construction equipment work and that type of thing. And we've repowered pretty much every passenger vessel, every large passenger vessel down on the river in the Potomac. So it's been great working here at COG. We really enjoy all the ability to support our members across the region. Again, 24 local government members. We actually have been very engaged with our members since probably about 5 years ago, where our local governments began really taking a close look at the need to develop both government-focused and community-wide climate action plans. And so we've been very active in supporting our members on that through MOUs and hiring of consulting firms and others to help kind of move the ball along all across the region. So really proud of our membership, proud of the work we do here at COG, and you know, unlike many other cogs, we're really blessed that our predecessors here over the decades set up what they call the Regional Environment Fund. So we're actually, you know, have a nice budget and a nice staff team to really kind of move all these different initiatives along, and really rejoice in having partnerships with agencies like the Clean Cities Coalition. You know, can't do it alone. It's great to have Antoine pushing on all these fronts as well. So appreciate the time, Antoine. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you. We do have questions for you, so we'll come back around in a minute. So I know you got all these committees and this, that, and how people can get involved. All right. So next we want to go to Aaron Rice, Director of Workplace Strategy. And Aaron, you have another company. What's the name of your other company as well? Aaron?
There we go. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. I like your background.
Thank you. Thank you. Charm City in the background, of course. So yes, the other company we have is Concierge, and that's AIRGE.
All right. Well, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Awesome. So great to be here. Thank you so much, Antoine, and allowing me to be on the panel with your esteemed guests. Again, my name is Aaron Rice with eXp Commercial, and we're based here in Charm City in Baltimore. And I'm the Director of Workplace Strategy. And when we think about workplace, we don't think about it just in the office building per se. We think about it whether it's working from a hotel, whether it's working in a house of worship, whether it's working from home. It's wherever you're doing work is where we want to focus our energies. And that also means working in schools as well. So on the next slide, what I want to talk about briefly is sick building syndrome and environmental justice. Sick building syndrome and environmental justice. If you're not aware, humans, we spend 90% of our lifetime indoors, right? 90% of our lifetime is spent indoors, and indoor air quality is up to 100 times worse than outdoor air quality. And I know a lot of times air quality is measured, but rarely is it measured or regulated indoors, and that leads to what's called sick building syndrome. And in Baltimore, you know, we service the entire state of Maryland, but in Baltimore, we focus heavily on asthma, which would be the next slide. And because asthma affects, well, Baltimore ranks 12th in the worst cases of asthma nationally, and number 3 in the deaths of asthma. Asthma, if you don't know, actually kills 11 people per day. And radon is another thing that we focus on very heavily. Every property should be checked for radon. If you haven't measured your home for radon, please do that. I came to this space after measuring my home for radon. And according to EPA standards, we were smoking 20 to 40 cigarettes a day in our home here in Randallstown, Maryland. And we've been here for 25 years. So so since then, I've pretty much geeked out on my indoor air quality monitors. I never leave home without them, and always am not shy about posting air quality no matter where I am throughout my travels. But asthma is detrimental to the African American community as well. You know, people from Puerto Rico, Cuba, seem to have the highest cases in the country, but African Americans are actually dying at faster rates. And again, Baltimore City has the 3rd highest rate of fatalities from asthma, and it's African American females that are actually succumbing to this terrible disease the most. And so what we do is we use indoor air quality monitors, indoor air quality data to be able to measure whether a building, whether it be a home, whether it be an office building, whether it be a house of worship on the next slide, we measure what are called, you know, systemic environmental hazards. Poor indoor air quality is linked to tiredness, depression, anxiety. We talked about asthma killing 11 people per day, allergies, loss of concentration, loss of productivity. And the reason that I have that on one half of the slide and the typical business operating expenses on the other half of the slide is because a lot of the conversation in whether it's the Maryland Climate Solutions Now Act or various county climate action plans are more so focused on decarbonization, sustainability, resiliency, which is all great. Greenhouse gas reduction, great. but energy reduction, which is all great. But in the biggest scheme of things, when it comes to an operating business, that's really 1% of what an operating business would be spending their funds on. 9% is rent and operations, and 90% is actually on the employee, health and wellness of the employee, benefits of the employee. And so when you have these items on the left, the skin irritation, the sleepless nights, difficulty breathing, chest tightness, that is the definition of sick building syndrome. And if you're not, these are things that you can't, a lot of them you can't see, taste, or smell, especially radon. Radon, again, kills 58 people per day. And so, one of the questions we ask our business owners is, are you winning the war for talent? Are you winning the war for talent? You want people to come back to the office? Well, we got to give them a reason to make that commute, to come back into the office. And so one of the things that we do is we show building owners that to be able to show tenants in buildings to be able to show their employees that it's actually healthier to be in the building than it is to be at home. But you got to monitor, you got to measure to make sure. And so if you can't get people back to the office, absenteeism, that's a big thing. Number one reason why kids miss school is because of asthma, absenteeism. We want to start measuring inside schools, inside homes, inside offices, the indoor air quality. And so we have a framework for success on the next slide. And there's a lot here, but what we do uniquely, and we follow the EPA Tools for Schools, Indoor Air Quality Tools for Schools program framework, and we follow that with concierge. And our moniker is Control the Air You Breathe, right? And we do some things a little bit differently. We actually certify buildings for healthy indoor air through Reset. We do 3D virtual tours of properties and connect that real-time data to that digital twin. And so on the last slide, just want to make sure that everyone has a way to connect with us. It's concierge.com, and we're here to help you measure your indoor air quality, because again, indoor air quality is up to 100 times worse than outdoor air quality. And I'll leave you with one statement. That is that the person who manages your building has a greater influence on your health than your doctor. Antoine, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to the question and answers.
You just dropped a bomb on with that one.
Wow.
Did you hear what he just said? The person that manages the air quality in your building has more influence over you than your doctor. That is amazing. And one thing, Aaron, that a small thing that you can do is making sure at home that you're letting air circulate, you're cleaning those filters. In fact, I got to do mine as well. But there are a lot of other things you can do at home and at work. But I really encourage you all. I know that I saw the good Kelly Crawford from the U.S. Department of Energy, used to be over number 2 for Air Quality Division for D.C., was on the call a little while ago. We'll get her to chime in at the end of the questions and answers. She's still on. But air quality is so important, and I want to just thank him for sharing that. I want to go to our dynamic Nicole Kirby from the great state of West Virginia, and she's on the call. And Nicole, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Anton. Welcome, everybody. I've been enjoying the conversation that the panelists have posed. My name is Nicole Kirby, and I serve as the Clean Cities and Communities Regional Manager for the Mid-Atlantic region. And I am also a Technical Project Officer for the National Energy Technology Laboratory. And mostly the work I do supports the DOE's Vehicle Technologies Office. And Earth Day, as the panelists have all commented, that's a special day for all of us. And for each of us, there is a reason we celebrate. There is something that catalyzed us into taking action. My catalyst is a positive one. My grandfather, Don Gasper, was an environmental scientist in West Virginia. And so I grew up stocking fish with him every summer with a pack of trout on my back, carefully taking water samples, journaling the water chemistry, putting the trout in the stream, and then coming back 20 minutes later and counting how many survived. And it was there that I learned how delicately balanced we all exist on the planet. And while my catalyst was summertime and sweetness, As many of our panelists have commented, other people, unfortunately, their catalyst into action is rooted in hardship from emissions or climate change. And to address the threat of climate change, the Biden administration has set a goal of net zero carbon emissions economy-wide by 2050. Since transportation is the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions, this is an area where moving the needle every year will have a dramatic impact. The Vehicle Technologies Office is addressing strategies outlined in the National Blueprint for Transportation Decarbonization, which was authored by the Department of Energy, Department of Transportation, the Environmental Protection Agency, and Housing and Urban Development. The blueprint looks at realistic, achievable pathways to decarbonize using innovation and science. It builds on federal commitments, leverages market forces for wide-scale deployment of cost-effective clean transportation technologies, and focuses on solutions that could be incrementally deployed for results as early as 2030. Using three prongs: convenience, which means land use decisions, transportation solutions, and prioritization of access for communities; efficiency, which is expanding options for more efficient vehicles and transport modes; and three, clean, using zero emission fuels, vehicles, and infrastructure. And the blueprint covers all transportation modes and sets up realistic, achievable pathways based on science. The Vehicle Technologies Office is structured to implement these action plans from the U.S. National Blueprint for Transportation Decarbonization. At a high level, we have a batteries team that's researching new battery chemistries to reduce costs, increase energy density, and increase life. The electrification team increases energy density of power electronics and reduces charge time. The batteries, electrification, and material teams fund research to increase the efficiency of on-road vehicles. The energy efficient mobility systems teams covers the transportation system as a whole to increase its convenience and effectiveness. The decarbonization of off-road rail, marine, and aviation team, which some of you might have heard by DORMA, the acronym that we're using, that works closely with sister offices of hydrogen and bioenergy to ensure that hard to electrify sectors can transition to clean fuels. And finally, the Technology Integration Program, which is where Clean Cities and Communities falls, serves as the interface with fleets and communities to demonstrate all of these technologies for deployment. The Technology Integration Program also develops tools, resources, websites, such as the resources that you can see on this slide here. It funds education, outreach, training, partnerships, and provides technical assistance. And since the DOE established its partnership with Clean Cities and Communities in 1993, coalition activities have reduced greenhouse gas emissions by 72 million tons. 72 million tons, guys. And we've achieved a cumulative energy impact and energy use equal to nearly 14 billion gasoline gallon equivalents. Our Clean Cities and Communities coalitions are experts at pulling together project partners, securing funding, and implementing projects. And as we see an increase in clean transportation funding opportunities, especially through the bipartisan infrastructure law, coalitions can serve as the critical matchmaker to ensure disadvantaged communities benefit from these investments and co-create projects. And the total of Clean Cities and Communities success is more than the work being done on government projects. It's the combination of all of the work the coalitions and their partners do. Clean Cities and Communities is alternative fuel inclusive. All solutions are needed to get towards decarbonization. And with solutions in mind, coalitions are partnering with underserved communities and underrepresented persons to provide outreach, education, and workforce development. They are assisting communities with grant writing and long-term planning. They are deploying car share in neighborhoods. They are sitting on local and state level working and planning groups. And they are working with ports, and airports, on electrification, and exploring all of the things that our hydrogen hubs are going to be able to offer communities, and so much more to further the utilization of alternative fuels. Right now, there is an unprecedented amount of funding and effort being leveraged to decrease emissions and mitigate climate change. And together, we're making an impact. So as everybody else has echoed today, every day is Earth Day. Thank you, Antoine.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't emphasize one thing that Nicole mentioned. We are seeing unprecedented investments in clean energy, clean transportation, buildings, from the bipartisan infrastructure law to the Inflation Reduction Act. I'm actually amazed how many people still don't know about those laws. And there's some things that all of us can do. So one thing that as we come out of Earth Day that our office will do is that there is a $7,500 rebate that's available for electric cars at point of sale. And there's a $4,000 rebate on used EVs that's available at point of sale. Most people don't know that. So we need to share that information, folks. Let's do everything we can. Our office is always available to come to a church, community organization, or to a supermarket, to a mall, to a sports game, cultural event, to bring information, bring clean vehicles out there so more people can learn. Because too often people think that this doesn't impact them, and it does. We have very aggressive climate and sustainability goals, but we got to make sure we can make it plain for ordinary folks. So I want to just say a couple quick shout outs to some folks that I see that I don't know everyone that's on, but I want to say hi to my good friend Faustinia Morrow, who is an environmental justice leader all the way from Buffalo, New York. Faustinia, if you could just say hello. I don't know if we can unmute her really quickly. Faustinia, good to see you on here as well. I did see, are you on there? Can you say anything?
Yes, I am so excited and just elated about what you are doing. Antoine is from my hometown, a homeboy, and we are excited. I own the Monarch of Infinite Possibilities, where we focus on raising the level of awareness about the environment and the arts. I'm excited to say that there are about 5 different events happening in your hometown, and tonight we're going to gather with the community, the BIPOC community, people who look like us, to really raise the level of awareness about what's happening. So they're going to be EVs on Jefferson Avenue at the Johnny B. Wiley Center, where we have over 40 young people, high schoolers, who are going to be there learning, and people from the community. We're expecting hundreds of people to come out. So we're representing and holding it down in your hometown over here in Western New York.
Thank you. Before we go to our next couple of speakers, I want to just recognize Kim Pisa, who is with Brooke Learman's office, who is the Maryland State Comptroller. Kim heads up environmental policy. Did I lose her? I think we may have lost Kim. Well, let Kim know that we did recognize her. I did want to call on my good buddy. Oh, Kim is on. I see Kim. Kim, did you want to say hi to everybody, Kim, or she can't? I don't see if she got her mic on there. I do see Kim's on there from Comptroller of Maryland's office. If we can't get Kim on, let's go to Kelly. May be only in view mode as well. They may be just listening to us. All right. Well, we're going to rock and roll. I want to go just take a few questions from our panelists. So the first thing is I want to go to Janet. Janet, last year, the Prince George's County Sierra Club did a lot of listening sessions around equity. I think we hosted like 4 forums. What's like the number one thing that really struck you as you went to these areas, going out, talking, listening about equity issues? I was surprised how many people showed up for the tree event. tree equity. That one really, that and the flooding really surprised me with the largest two turnouts. But what really struck you last year when you were out in these neighborhoods?
Well, I think the most important thing to me was that there are actually people out there that want to talk about these things, that really care about it. They're not necessarily environmentalists. They're not necessarily, the sort of people who are already in the church, so to speak, here. They're just regular people who see changes happening in their environment and they're worried about it. They come to a place that used to be a forest and all of a sudden it's been clear cut. It makes them mad. They see the muddy water running down the street and they see their street ankle deep in floodwaters, and they know that there's change happening, and they don't necessarily want to fix it because they're green environmental people. They want to fix it because it's messing their houses up. Anyway, there are so many of these ways of connecting with people who are just members of the general public who really do care. And we need to find those folks and help them do what needs to be done to move us in a better trajectory.
All right, I want to go over to Dr. Venus Welch White. You're in an agency at a historic time in the country, and I'm sure that must require a lot of patience. But it seems that the EPA has been very outgoing and really pushing to get resources out there. How does it feel to be at the EPA during this historic amount of investment? I mean, you all just announced the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, the Solar for All funding. I mean, where are you getting all this money from? And I mean, and what steps are you all taking to make sure it gets to these disadvantaged communities, both the cities, the first ring suburbs, and some of these rural areas?
So first of all, thank you all so much for that question, Antoine. Yes, this is actually exciting isn't even the right word. This is monumental. There's a paradigm shift happening in this particular space. The amount of money that's going towards climate investments. I would say the commitment, not only from the government, and federal agencies working collaboratively together. There's a lot of different types of initiatives that are happening. So not only just at EPA, USDA has a historic climate smart solution funding that they are doing. Department of Energy has historic funding. So this is not necessarily just at EPA, but really how do we work across the sector with our sister agencies? Yes, as you mentioned, we had the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund announcement that happened on April the 4th. And again, this is billions and billions of dollars. We just had an announcement today for the Solar for All, which is a part of the GWRF, and that is $7 billion today. And so one of the panelists actually discussed about, incorporating solar panels into residential operations, and that those funds will actually support that. And so I think this is a really exciting time, and really time to move the needle in some ways that we have just not seen before. And I think most of us that have been in this space for a considerable amount of time have kind of watched the evolution of acceptance of climate. How do we, address those things, and how do we come and work collaboratively together, which is really about public-private partnerships. And so we're really happy that EPA is a part of that, as well as other members of the federal family.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you. We're doing more to get more of some of that EPA money, and we got a big territory to cover. So let us know how we can continue to tap into that, some of those exciting resources. And congratulations on the new emission standards that you all announced a few weeks ago. That's really important. Maybe in closing comments, you can say that in 30 seconds. I want to come over to Nicole. Nicole, I want to just ask you a quick question about, there's a lot of money coming down from Department of Energy as well. Like you're in the mix of all that. what are some couple advices that you would offer to people, because there's real money that can make a real difference right now. And what advice would you give people to get ready? So often these community organizations don't know about it. I know we're trying to tell people as much as we can. But what are some advice that you would give, and how does it feel to be at the table?
Well, it's amazing to be at the table. I've been with Clean Cities for just a few years, and it's wonderful to have the ability to look back and speak with people who have been around in this area since the early 90s and hear about their struggles and how they battled to even begin the conversation, and then be able to quickly fast forward to 2024, where we have billions of dollars that are really just there to help us all decarbonize. You know, I don't want to speak too specifically about any sorts of funding opportunities because there are some that are open. But in general, what I can say is those partnerships are absolutely key. Clean Cities and Communities coalitions like Antoine, you know, going to the website that I had in my comments, those Clean Cities coalitions represent 95% of the United States population, and they absolutely are the subject matter experts in how to help communities make those transitions in affordable ways. They're not all electric, although for some, electric might be that use case. It's all about moving that needle now in a way those communities can afford to move that needle. So as we know, that there are opportunities out there, not just through the DOE, but in other areas of this whole government approach, getting those partners secured and starting to build relationships now. So when you do see something come your way, being able to quickly say, "Ooh, I had a conversation, I've got a business card somewhere. I know exactly who I need to call." And then, of course, looking at your local Clean Cities community coalition.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to go to our last two speakers who I didn't get a chance to ask, but these two, I want to give each of you a chance to really talk about briefly one nugget you can share around air quality. And Jeff, if you could not only talk about some of the good work you all are doing around air quality, but also around the EV charging, EV working group that Congress put together. If you can share about that and how people can learn more information on the EV charging working group. So Jeff, why don't you go, and then we'll have Aaron talk about a couple of nuggets on air quality. And Aaron, you've got about 20 things in the chat. People want to know how to get those air monitors, man. I mean, like, people want them. I know I want one like yesterday so I could check the air quality for all of my neighbors. The same way you found out, I want to do it because I think the air in my house is driving me crazy.
Oh man, yeah. So thanks, Antoine. Yeah. So on the EV side, we of course are really interested in the electric vehicles opportunity for air quality in particular. You know, much of the local emissions here in our region are from the transportation sector. You know, you're aware we're not here in Metro Washington, at least not very industrialized. So it's really a challenge of our, you know, power sector, our buildings, and transportation. So, you know, getting the cleaner vehicles out onto the road is a high priority for our air quality challenge, particularly medium and heavy duty. That's an area that is probably one of the biggest challenges we face in the next 10, 15 years. One of the big challenges overall is vehicles last a long time, and, you know, getting that fleet turnover is really important. So things like the DERA program, the Clean Cities program, are things we look to keep that moving. So like many of our initiatives where we know there's a need to kind of push things along, the COG Board of Directors, I guess 2 years ago, identified electric vehicles as kind of the #1 area to get the COG Board support behind, to accelerate it, to see if we can get things moving more quickly. The year after that, they chose to focus on solar and renewable energy, but out of the gates was, we need to do more on electric vehicles. So we set up an information clearinghouse on our website, so I can share that link with you. And we also have an electric vehicle working group that's working on developing a regional electric vehicle infrastructure strategy. Right now, we're in the midst, pretty close, probably 85% done with a big regional study where we've looked at every census tract in the region, trying to identify where our stakeholders and local government members and others should look to prioritize charging. So we have a kind of a good handle on where vehicles are driving to and from and destinations, and compare that with the GIS kind of census tract level analysis. We're trying to get that tool in the hands of folks across the region to really understand where they can to invest in charging infrastructure for electric vehicles.
All right. So I want to give Aaron, you got 30 seconds because we only have a minute left because we start on time and we end on time. So I want to give you one quick minute, Aaron, and I'm going to give some closing comments, and we'll give everyone a big Earth Day thank you.
Yeah, well, happy Earth Day, everybody. Antoine, again, thank you for inviting me to be a part of the panel. Again, I mentioned earlier that we spend 90% of our lifetime indoors. All you need to do is multiply your age by 0.9, and that'll tell you how many years you've been living indoors.
Wow, that's frightening, Aaron. I don't like you anymore, Aaron. That's too much. That's scary. So let me just say this really quick. First, I want to thank everyone for being here today. A lot of great speakers. This information will be available on LinkedIn. You can go to Facebook or YouTube, and you can watch as much as you want as well. You can get to those pages from our website at GWRCCC.org. I challenge you, each of you, whether you're new to the space or you've been here a long time, there's something that all of us can do to continue this effort to educate people, to organize people, to engage people around environmental, clean energy, clean transportation, and issues and initiatives. Whether it's so small, like, picking up trash, to something big like putting greening buildings or greening our transportation sector, or something like we're doing tomorrow. We're going to be speaking to high school students in Washington, D.C. Through our Future Green Leaders program. So there's something that all of us can do. I'm going to challenge you all to come on out tonight. We're going to have some electric vehicles at 4400 Forbes Boulevard tonight in Lanham, Maryland. We'll have some green drinks that you can shout out to Quentin, who's in South Carolina, had a green margarita earlier. Don't drink too many of those unless you have an Uber or a Lyft or a rideshare or something like that. But I want to thank you all. Again, as we always say at Greater Washington Region Clean Cities Coalition, I want to say a shout out to Ron Flowers, our previous executive director as well. At our office, every day is Earth Day. Thank you, and let's go green. Take care. Bye-bye.